Hi everybody, I'm Eric Bolvin, and this is improvisation video number 1. If you go to my website, bolvinmusic.com, you can download the sheet music for any instrument that goes with this video, as well as the band in a box file that we're going to be using, and an MP3 of that file if you don't have band in a box, so you can play along at home. Alright. This is a beginning improv video, but if you're, advanced and you want to get some new ideas going, you might be in the right place. Also, if you're a teacher of improv, this might give you some new ideas on how to convey some of these concepts to your students. When people learn to improvise, especially in jazz, they're given a scale, like let's say the Dorian mode, and an accord, and they're asked to play over that. The problem with that is that what you get is people playing scales. They look at the piece of paper and they start playing the scale up and down, and they don't really develop a good feel for improvising right away. I think it's most important to work on your time and your phrasing before you actually get into playing a million notes. Now, we can hardly blame people, because when we hear jazz, what do we hear? We hear a lot of notes a lot of times, a lot of bebop and stuff. I remember when I first heard Clifford Brown, I didn't even know it was improvised, and I went down to our local sheet music store, the Clef House in Saratoga, California, and I asked them if they had the music for Clifford Brown's Delilah, and they looked at me like I was from another planet. So what we hear sometimes is a lot of notes, but not all improvised music is that way. The concepts that I'm going to give you work in jazz, rock, the blues, funk, even classical type improvisation. Okay, so we're going to use a concept that I call the 3-note scale, and that's the sheet music that you can download from the site. I think that within a key, not every note is equal. And this is what I call note usage. Every note has a color. Every note has a different feel to it, a different sound. Within a key, you can have many notes, but each one has a little voice of its own. And it's hard to describe these sounds verbally. I'm going to attempt to do that, but really you don't have to be able to. You just have to develop your own feel for each note in the key. And it's easy if we start with just 3 notes. So line 3 is the 3-note scale. We're going to introduce the root, and that's the note G. Okay, to me the root is a very solid tone. It's the core note. It's the root. It's home base. Okay. Flat 3 is what's called a blue note in any key, a minor key or a major key. This is a minor key, and I think it resolves well down to the 1, and it has that kind of bluesy, funky feeling to it. The same can be said of the flat 7. Now notice we're not introducing the scale here. We're keeping the root kind of in the middle of things where it should be. Alright? So resolve to the root, and all your ideas kind of revolve around that note. Alright? This is just to start off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play 16 bars just on 3 notes. Alright, just to get a feel for these 3 notes and to get a good feel of phrasing. And we're going to have a little help from Band in the Box. Okay, so I only played 3 notes that whole time. Notice I don't have to play all the time. Okay, so if you're starting off improvising, don't feel that you have to fill up every single moment of music with sound. You really don't have to. It's best to leave as much space. In fact, I don't like to think of things as a solo. forget that you're soloing. Be part of the band. What you play, make it complementary to what's already going on. Make yourself part of the band and part of your surroundings, and improvise to that. And it'll be a lot better for you. You don't have to play a million notes all the time. Okay, we're now going to add another tone to our scale, line 4, and this is going to introduce the fourth. Okay, the fourth is kind of an ambivalent sound, although in a minor key, all the notes in the first 5 notes are very, they work together very well. Okay, and alright, so here I go. I'm going to play a few bars for you. I'm just going to use 4 notes. You can do the same thing at home. With the 5-note scale, this is the minor pentatonic. Alright. Now, note usage. So far all these notes have been kind of, they don't work really well. It's because it's a pentatonic scale. And when you get to number 6 is when you can really hear the difference in how certain notes within a key sound different. We're going to add the 9th, which is the 2nd note in the scale. I call it the 9th because it's more of an extension of the scale. The 9th is going to introduce a completely different color to what we're doing. And I call it, it's kind of a pretty color, and it's an extended sound. Some people might think it's a little bit dissonant. Alright, play around now with the 9th, see how you can make melodies around that note. It works really well. Okay, so you can hear what the 9th sounds like. That's a cool sound. So when you introduce that note in your solo, you know kind of what you're doing and what you're saying. You're adding a color to the whole musical happening. Alright, finally now, we've made it to the whole Dorian mode, okay? And we're going to introduce the 6th. The 6th is a really ambivalent kind of a note. You can use it in passing, and it has kind of an off-color kind of a sound to it. It's kind of the weakest note of all the scale. Okay, so I introduced that one last. All right, here we go. This is the entire scale now, but I'm going to focus on using my different sounds and different colors. So that sixth, he's kind of a funky note, and you kind of got to know how to use that note. And when you use it right, it's very effective. Okay, so at the bottom of the page now you have the entire chord, the G minor 7 chord, and the G Dorian mode. And now you have a little, clue on how to use different notes and how those different colors can help you in learning how to improvise. All right, next up, in video 2 we'll talk about the blues, and in video 3 we'll talk about the altered scale. Thanks a lot.